I am live. Okay, so we're going to take a look here at the total crypto market cap first. Let's go take a look at that. And I'll wait a few minutes before some people join. All right, so I'm going to take a look here at the total crypto market cap first, and just to let you guys know what I see. And I see things that are losing some support on the weekly time frame here with the baseline of the Ichimoku right here, right? So that one sits at 2.15 trillion, right? And now it's currently below. But the good news is it has not made a lower low yet. So that is good. And essentially, what I'd like to see is this continue. I'd like to see this trend continue, and not make a lower low, because if it goes lower, then possibly it could go down to the bottom of the cloud and test there, right? So basically, what I'm doing is, oh no, it's not StreamYard. It's right now it's Restream, but I might do StreamYard later. Cantonese cat. But yeah, let's go check out the monthly chart too on this total crypto cap, and you can see where that conversion line sits. So this is why I think it's not going to go lower right now. There's a possibility to close the rest of the month back above that, which is currently at 2.05 trillion, right? And it's a little bit below that now, but there's still 27 days left in the month, right? So it's still following the market symmetry perfectly. If you can see my GAN, like this orange level has been resistance numerous times. And essentially, it's just below that 45 now, just consolidating until it's able to go higher and higher. So essentially, just got to wait. And now let's check out Bitcoin here. So Bitcoin is on the weekly chart. Bitcoin is currently at, or a little bit above, the baseline there at 58,019. It was wicking below it. So there's how many hours left before the weekly candle closes? That's right, 5 hours and 35 minutes. So it looks like what's going to happen is this should hold us support, right? I mean, we saw it right here back in July 1st, 2024, and it did close a little bit below, but then the following week just went back above like it was no big deal. So I think as long as it's just around that 58,000 range, I think it should be fine. But if it does like continue lower and lower into the close, then that could be a little bit worrisome. But I think as long as this level holds, that'll be still a bullish development going into the close. And now if we check out the monthly chart, we can see that last month it already hit the conversion line down there. So that sits at 55,711. So there still is a possibility to go down to that level during this month, and that would still scare a lot of people. So the best situation would be to close above that 58,000, and then possibly the next week it could just continue a little bit lower and just create a wick, and then possibly go back up afterwards, right? So that's the best scenario possible there, I believe. And let's go take a look at some altcoins now. First, we'll look at the others chart here and see if it's holding support. And yeah, the others chart, it's actually just testing the top of the cloud again for the second time. We saw it back here in July, and now we're seeing it again with this weekly candle as well. So I believe this has a good chance of holding, but if it doesn't, it could come back down and test that arc, right? And if we look at this arc going in the past here on the others chart, you can see how important of a resistance that was, and it still has never gone back to successfully backtest that arc. And it's currently kind of in the process of doing that right now. So that would be just a breakout and a successful backtest before a continuation higher. All right. And what do you mean by second time, cat? Let's see. So yeah, we'll look at the symmetry here, just taking off the Ichimoku for the others chart. And you can see how beautiful this has been, right? So that's the orange level right there. It has been support. Now it was, or not now, but it was resistance, that orange level. And now it's kind of resistance again, right? It tried to hold it as support, but it looks like it kind of wants to come back and test that arc. And going back further with that arc, you can see that it's resistance here. It was resistance here, even resistance here, right? So this is a good indication that this bottom arc was a resistance and it's just trying to flip it to support. And I think that is a very important development and not a very bearish thing at all. Even though there's a lot of altcoins underperforming right now, the total altcoin market is just back testing a support level, which is not that bearish at all. I think it looks pretty good. And let's see here. Let's go check out Ethereum, one of the top altcoins here. And here is my GAN for that. And you can see the 45, how it has been support. It was a resistance right here, but now it's trying to flip it back to a support. But it's a little bit below that right now. And if it stays below that, then that could be a resistance again. But let's check out the Ichimoku on that. And the Ichimoku is, yeah, it's below the conversion, below the baseline, and it's going towards the cloud. So could it continue lower and go back to test this arc here? I mean, that could be a possibility if things do go down further. But I think what's good to check out first is the monthly Ichimoku, and it's just back testing the top of the cloud right there and going towards the little baseline right there around 2550. So still not that big of a deal. And on the monthly basis, it's just losing the conversion line as a support, and it's retesting the lower levels as a new support. So I think that still, all in all, on a monthly basis, this chart is just back testing a support level and not that bearish at all. Not that bearish at all. Are there any chart requests here? Let's see here. We'll just continue to see if anybody wants to look at some charts here. But let me just continue with Doge right here. And we'll start with Doge on the weekly chart. And so we'll start with just the Ichimoku and seeing why it kind of broke down. And I think it said it all, right? It couldn't get really back above the conversion line, so it just went back to test a support. And this support is my 45-degree angle. And essentially, I think it's possible to go back and test the cloud as well. So let me just get rid of that cloud and show you the symmetry of this chart. And you can see how well this angle right here has been a support and resistance, how well it's worked out. So it was a support here all the way up, flipped to a resistance here with this bullish engulfing candle. That was a 78% weekly candle. Now it's just going back to test it as a support. So I think any fears of it collapsing or whatever, I think this kind of negates those fears just simply because it looks pretty good, right? It looks like it's just doing what it's supposed to do. It went up here, got rejected at resistance, and if it can't break resistance, it's going to go back and test support. And that's exactly what it's doing. So I think this right here, in my opinion, is a great opportunity, not financial advice, to buy, right? It looks really good. I would not be too worried about this at all for Doge. And I see some requests coming through. And I'm just doing crypto today, so I'm not going to be doing Tesla because we already did those videos last night in the live stream. But I see HBAR on that list. So we'll check out HBAR right here. And look at the market symmetry for HBAR. So this one even went up to the green levels up here. But you can see one level at a time and all the angles at a time, how symmetrical this has been. And where do you see price? Again, back to a very important level, right? And you can see how important these arcs are right here. This one was resistance, tried to flip it to support, could not hold it as support, went back up. Now it's resistance again. So if it can't break resistance, it's going to go retest the support. And that was that blue angle below. So in my opinion, this kind of looks like Doge, right? It looks like it's an opportunity to buy and not sell, right? And if we add on the Ichimoku here just for some confluence, it is below everything. But if I put on the monthly chart here, it's still below everything, right? So it doesn't really help us in this regard. So this is where GAN comes in handy just to see where the levels are, right? So we can't really rely on the Ichimoku, so we can rely on the symmetry of the chart, and the market symmetry of HBAR still looks perfect, right? Still nothing to worry about for this chart at all. Let's see. I see DOT on that list, right? Let's go to DOT. Where is my DOT? There it is. So yeah, DOT it's like losing levels on my GAN. So we can't really rely too much on that, right? But what it really looks like in forms of market structure, from here, it's still a higher low, right? It's still a higher low from there. So could it come down a little bit further to retest these lower levels into the lower fours? Yeah, I think that's a possibility, but I think the risk is not too much for a pretty good reward coming up, right? So essentially, it's just doing what others are doing. Could not break resistances, so it's just testing lower levels of support. And now it's at a pretty good level of support. Even if we go to the left of this chart right here, you can see all these candles right here. They're basically touching where this candle currently sits as well. So this is a pretty good demand zone for DOT right now. So I would be willing to buy this and not really willing to sell it because it's approaching lower levels of support, right? And I see Link in there as well. Right, we'll go check out Link. So Link is doing something similar on market symmetry. It's breaking this angle as a support right here. So it's also going through the cloud, and you can see it accelerate through the cloud. And now it's going to be the first weekly candle on the bottom side of the cloud, which is not really what we're looking for, but it is still kind of holding this range, right? I could see it possibly going lower though, just because if you look at this range down here, right here, you can see that range. This is a range for price to possibly get to, which also coincides with that angle below, right? Because this is the range before it broke out. So sometimes charts do that. They break out, then they come back to the range where they broke out just to consolidate more, and then they break out again. So I think if it does not hold this angle, I would be patient on this one and be more willing to get some in the $8 range down here. That's what I would be waiting for, because breaking this angle and breaking the cloud could lead to more selling pressure for Link. And Solana, let's look at Solana here. So Solana is beautiful. I'm just going to take off the GAN anyways, or sorry, take off the Ichimoku, just so you can see the market symmetry of this, right? This one is gorgeous. It's basically just hitting the 45-degree angle again. You can see how perfect it was. It was a support here, right? Then right here, it flipped it to a resistance. See right here, it confirmed it as a resistance. And then finally it broke out above back to the orange level where it was a resistance again. Could not break above. So what did it do? Go back to a support here. And it's really at a support zone right now, right? It's nothing really scary at all. It looks like it's in a buy zone, not financial advice, but it looks like it's in a buy zone and looks perfect. Right where it is. But if it does lose that, it could get into some dangerous territory. But you have the Ichimoku below, the cloud below to catch it. So it probably would not go all the way back to that blue angle, right? So I think what's happening now is just a normal thing for Solana. It just can't break above resistance. So it's going back to support. And I think I saw XRP on there. So we'll check out XRP. I'm going to check it out on log scale though, because I like it here on log scale the most. And right here, it didn't even get back to the top arc, right? But it hit some resistance. And I think the best way to look at this is on the monthly chart with the Ichimoku for XRP. And you can see why it got rejected. You zoom in here, it was the baseline right here at 62.4 on the monthly chart. And now we're losing the conversion line. But if you go back to the weekly chart on the conversion line down there, it's at 52 cents. So essentially, also there's more confluence of resistance here with the top of the cloud. That's why it could not make it to the arc, to the top arc, because the cloud got in the way and that monthly baseline got in the way before it. So this is just following the technical analysis so perfectly. And I think that yeah, this is really, really what you want to see. You want to see if it gets rejected by resistance, go back to support. And I want to see this support hold, the 52 cents. And if that doesn't hold, then possibly it could go back to the 41 again. But I do believe that this is a good range for it to hold, because this bullish engulfing candle just broke above, and this continuation was really nice to see. So I would like to see this conversion line hold the 52 cents going into the weekly close and going into next week as well. And I see a request for DAG. Oh, right. What's DAG doing? Disappointing everybody, right? So the monthly chart on DAG, no, this is the weekly chart. So yeah, it turned really bearish a long time ago. Once it broke this angle right here, and once it lost the cloud, it was just telling everybody that's going to go lower. And sure enough, it went lower back to this arc, came back up to retest this conversion line as a resistance, came back down, and now we're even losing this arc, right? So this is not really what I wanted to see. I wanted to see this arc hold as support. But essentially, what you see right now is it's holding this previous higher low. Like, this is basically its last hope, right? Before it goes lower. So essentially, I want to see weekly closes continue to close above 0.0235. And if it does continue to close above there, then there's a possibility to reclaim this arc and go higher. But if there's a weekly candle close, I don't care about daily candle closes. I care about weekly candle closes. And there's still 5 hours left in this week, 5 hours, 20 minutes. And if it closes below that this week or next week or any week, then the bottom angle here becomes the target, in my opinion. And that will sit around 1.5 cents, right? That's going to be the target for DAG if this loses that support. And essentially, if it does close below it, then that 2.5 cent zone that we're at right now, it's going to turn into resistance, right? And there's really going to be an even longer bear market than anticipated to finally get to the lower levels to test these supports down below. So this 0.235 is really, really essential to hold. So I guess this is where hopium comes in, right? Just pray that it doesn't go lower, because if it does, then that'll turn into resistance. And you know what happens when things turn into resistance? They go down much further and much longer. So this is something we got to watch out for every single week. And oh yeah, Cole, the Tesla breakdown live stream that is on our Meow and Min YouTube account, right? So you can just go search my X posts, because I did a post on that recently, so you can check that out. There's a live stream on there. And what else do we have? Casper. Let's go to Cas here. So Cas is one of the few bullish altcoins out there, like Solana, like the rest of them. It's still looking really good. On a weekly basis, it still has a chance to close back above that conversion line. I mean, there's still 5 hours left, so anything is possible. And essentially what I think is going to happen, it's going to retest this blue level again, maybe this angle, or the baseline down there at 15 cents. And I think this could hold as support. And if it does, it has a potential of breaking through my arc here and going much higher, right? So this chart, is looking really good because this blue level here was a resistance for a long time, and now it looks like it's flipping to support. So this is looking really healthy for a continuation higher and higher. I mean, these are the charts that you like to see. Just continuous higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. Just a beautiful market structure and just a continuation. I see it, but it's still in between a tight range, right? This is resistance up here at 21 cents and support is down here at 15 cents. So this is the range, right? It's really not going to do much, I think, until it either breaks this top range or if it breaks below the bottom range, right? So we're going to keep an eye on this level from 15 cents to 21 cents and then see what happens. And yeah, you're welcome for doing DAG. And let's see your render. Yeah, so I don't have a GAN on here, but it doesn't really need one right now, just simply because it's going back to test the cloud. And basically, when I saw it break this baseline, it was kind of obvious to me that it's going to go down to this range here, at the $4 range. And I could see it going down here simply because this was the level right here before it broke out, right? So I think it can go anywhere from the current price all the way down to maybe like the $3.50, right? That could be the new buy zone right now for render, just simply because it lost the support up here. So when it loses the support, it's going to go to the next support, and that's currently this range, the price range before it broke out. So there's nothing wrong with this chart either. It looks pretty normal, and it just wants to consolidate before attempting to go higher again. And INJ, yeah, this one is losing the cloud too. And it is at a range before it broke out, which is right here, right? This range right here. So I think it could come down a little bit further, maybe like 13 and a half or so, just to test that lower range. And if it doesn't hold, then the next level you're going to watch out for is this price before it broke out down here. And that would be in the $9 down to the like $6.50 range, right? So really this range has to hold. And if that range doesn't hold, it's going back to this one where there's a lot more support. And the reason why is because it flipped a support. This cloud used to be a support and it flipped it to resistance. But really, everything broke down when it went below the baseline here, right? So it's kind of obvious it wanted to go lower after it closed a weekly candle below that. And sure enough, it's been trending lower. So to me, I think INJ really wants to go back to this zone, like go back to the $9, maybe down to the $6.50 zone. That's what I think, because there's not too much support right here. There's more support in this zone down here, right? And let's go take a look at Tau. I see a request for Tau. Oh, there we go. All right, so Tau is losing the cloud too on a weekly basis. And what did it do though? It's just going back to this angle. And I like how it actually went back there, because when I saw it come up here, it never really got there with these candles here. And I saw it break back above my arcs and above the conversion line. And I got kind of excited about it, but then like I saw this next weekly candle was kind of red, and maybe the following one was going to open below the cloud. And sure enough, opening below the cloud was just enough to really send it lower. And you can see this conversion line is still sloping down. It never really started to slope up. So I think that's a big reason why it couldn't maintain the momentum going higher. So this level is really important to hold. And if you look to the left, it's still not making any lower low. It's still technically a higher low from here, right? So this is a good development that I'm seeing for Tau. And I think that it has a possibility to hold this angle. And if it does, then it's going to continue up back to the blue level here at 260, which could be some resistance again. And then again to the top arc and then the bottom of the cloud. So it's finding a support, but still has lots of resistance above, right? And somebody is asking for WTK. So yeah, I like this market structure still for Tau. I think it looks healthy. It looks fine. Nothing to worry about. I think the theme of all these charts for the altcoins is they're currently finding a support and they have lots of resistance above. So it's kind of like the opposite of Bitcoin, where it's still holding its support and it has just a little bit of resistance above. So yeah, most of the altcoins, they have lots of resistance still. And let's go look at WTK here. So this one was kind of disappointing. I thought once it reclaimed this 45-degree angle, which is really important here, I'll just take off the Ichimoku so you can see it clear. I thought once it reclaimed it last week or 2 weeks ago, I thought it's going to be good to continue higher, but no, this bearish engulfing candle down 47% just changed everything, right? So the good news is it's still making higher lows, right? This is a higher low from here, higher low from here, higher low from here. So the good news is it's a higher low and it has a chance to come back up and go back up to this arc. But if I put on the Ichimoku, where's the cloud? The cloud sits right here. So this is going to be resistance now, really, because this is really the second time that has happened, right? This time it was resistance, but the next week just closed above, so it was fine. But now this is the second time that it's below it. So I think there's a possibility that the cloud this time around 3 cents, 0.031 maybe, will become resistance. And if it cannot break this resistance, then where's price going to go? It's probably going to go back down to the blue angle. And where does the blue angle sit? Right here, maybe around 0.015. But if you look to the left of the chart here, it would still be a higher low from this one. So you got to be cautious right here. But so far, this is support because if you look to the left right here, it's still in this big demand zone and it could hold. So just got to watch this level. And I want to see the bottom of the cloud break as a resistance. If it doesn't, it's going to turn into a massive resistance and probably roll over to continue lower. So that's something that we got to watch out for, right? And where is a good buy for XRP? 56 cents. Let's see. Where's my XRP chart? I mean, it's right here at 52 cents, right? The conversion line is 52 cents. So why would you want to buy at 56 when it's not even 56? Yeah, I don't understand. But this 52 cents, because it's the conversion line, looks like it's a good buy. But what I'm noticing is if that doesn't hold in the weeks to come, then it could come back down to test this lower level of the 41 cents again. So essentially, XRP is just in a giant range, right? It's from the 41 cents all the way up to the 70 cents, 69 cents, right? That's the range of XRP. And like it or love it or hate it, right? It is what it is. And it cannot break above the cloud right now, even though it's trying. But the good news is it's getting thinner and thinner here. So the possibility of the cloud turning green is there. And if it does turn green, then there's a possibility to get back into the cloud and then finally break above that arc. And I showed before, and I'll show it again. Like, look at the symmetry of the arc, right? It's just so beautiful. It's never flipped to support the top arc. Never, never, never. So flipping that to a support would mean this 2.272 is on the table at $3. So that's just what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for it to break above 70 cents or so. And it looks like it is possible in the coming months or so, right? It looks like it wants to get there. So once it does that, it'll get to $3 and then maybe $9. And then the next blue level is $29, right? Because right here, this orange level was really important. And that means if that arc gets flipped to support, then that $29 could happen, right? So this is just some possibilities for XRP, which is why I love this chart because it's probably one of the most symmetrical charts I've seen out in crypto besides like Bitcoin and stuff. It just looks so beautiful. And once it does break these levels, it's going to have a lot of excitement, in my opinion. And oh yeah, ADS. Somebody's asking about ADS. Sorry, I think I forgot about that. So ADS is right here. Here's the market symmetry of it. It's trying to hold that 45. It's been testing it numerous times, and now it's breaking below it a little bit, right? So it looks like, is it going to hold? Is it not going to hold? That is the question. There's still 5 hours left in the week to take a look at it, see what's going to happen. But if it doesn't hold, the Ichimoku doesn't even help us. So it looks like it's probably not going to hold, in my opinion, simply because it's losing the bottom of the cloud right here. And once it loses the bottom of the cloud, it might have more selling pressure down closer to these lows right here, around 7 cents, 6 cents. So I think that could be a possibility, unless the following week can close back above it and then work its way back to the bottom of the cloud here. But losing the bottom of the cloud is always a bearish thing, right? Even though the market structure is still bullish, you have to pay attention to this level here, and that level is like 0.096. And if this does close the way it is, then that 0.096 could flip into resistance and then gravitate down to the blue angle, which currently would be around 7 cents. And if you look to the left of the chart, I'll draw a box for you guys right there around that level. You can see that is a level before it broke out, right? So is that a bearish chart? No, it's not. It would just go back and retest that level. And I think that would be a good accumulation zone, to be honest. So just the fact of the matter is it lost the cloud and is losing the angle. And this is not a bullish scenario. So I don't want to have any hopium, right? It probably, if this does happen, it might want to gravitate lower and to that 7 cent zone. So we got to keep an eye on that, right? And what other chart? Jasmi, I think I saw right here. Jasmi. Okay, Jasmi is fine, right? This is a kind of a chart you want to see. I'll turn off that Ichimoku. You don't even need the Ichimoku, really. Just the market symmetry alone is looking really good. You can see that it's just following this angle as a support right now. And if you turn back on the Ichimoku, you can see it is closing below the baseline. Again, right, it did happen right here in the early, like 1st of July that week, and it might be doing it again. So you got to watch this level right here. And if next week, if it closes below that 0.0212, yeah, around 0.0215 or so, then it could go back down to test the top of the cloud around 0.015. So you just got to watch this level here because it's breaking the baseline, it's breaking the conversion line and stuff like that, right? So just gotta watch it. And let's see, Nexera. Where's my Nexera? There it is. And yeah, Nexera is another example of what happens after it closes below the cloud, like right here. It just went down in a straight line. Then it closed the candle. See, this is what I was talking about with the ADS, right? It closed the candle below right here, and then it came back and flipped it as resistance, right? You see that right there. And then after that, a giant bearish engulfing candle, because if it can't break resistance, it's going to retest as support. And right now that support is this orange angle, even that gray angle. But if you look to the left of the chart, it is the range right here. These candles and these candles, it's the range before price broke out. So is this really a bearish chart? No, I mean the time to like sell was once everything closed below the cloud, really, or even like once it lost this angle up here and then it flipped it to resistance. Like that's the time to like take some profits or whatever. But if you're already in it, this is not really the time to sell because it just went back down to the level right here where price was before it broke out. And I think that is okay, right? And somebody is asking about Ondo. Ondo. Let's go to the KuCoin chart. Yeah, I do have a GAN on this one, and it hit resistance right here, my blue level. And once it hit that, it was kind of obvious it was going to retest support levels, and now it's doing that one level at a time. And now you can see it even losing this baseline as a support. So that means it's going to come back down probably to this angle. But I think what's more realistic is you can see these weekly candles here at the orange arc. I can see it coming back down to testing that level around 45 cents or so. That's what I really can see. The previous zone before price had that bullish engulfing candle, right? That's where I see it going. And let's see some WIF. Yeah, WIF, more obvious of what happened with WIF. Like, you can see once it lost the conversion line right here in May of 2024, it was resistance ever since. And even this giant 62, 63% candle went straight up to resistance, and it couldn't break above. So if it can't break above, it's going to go retest as support. And that's exactly what it did, but it could not hold this support during this week, and now it went back to the blue angle, and which I like it right there. I like it. I like the symmetry of this chart. I like that blue angle around $1.35. I like that a lot. So that could hold, but even still, this weekly candle still has a possibility of closing a little bit higher. And if that happens, it would not be a lower low from here if it does close a little bit higher, because we don't need to worry about the wick. You just need to worry about where the body of the candle closes, right? That's it. Let's see some XDC. Oh, let's see. Yeah, here we go. This one was obvious too. When it lost the cloud here, this was a scare. And that was also my 45-degree angle right here. So back in January, things started to turn bearish, right? And we can see that when it came back up to test the 45, the baseline, the conversion line as a resistance, and it could not break above it. It even went back up to the top or the bottom of the cloud there, and then it just collapsed to the lowest, to the next level of support, tried to hold it, lost support there, then it just went lower. And the reason why it went lower too is because the conversion line was in the way. It could not get above that. But now it's at a level that is interesting again, right? And you can see it's at the gray angle. It could possibly go down to the red angle, but again, I'll draw a box here. So you can see that this zone right here, you can see a lot of demand right here, right? You can see a lot of demand in that zone. So all that happened with XTC as well is after price broke out, it went back to test a level right here before price really broke out. So that's what a lot of things are doing. Not just some coins, but I'd say a lot of altcoins out there are just going back to levels to where they were before they broke out. So any more requests? Anybody? If not, we can wrap this up, I guess. But I'll just come back to the others chart here. Let's see what Bitcoin's at right now first. Yeah, so Bitcoin's at 58,753. So it's holding above my baseline right there. But I'm going to go back to just the others chart and just show you that this is not really that bad, right? Everything seems terrible right now, but it's really not that bad. Like everything is doing, including the others chart, is going back to a level, this level right here. This level right here is going back to this level before price broke out. That's what almost every altcoin is doing right now. And some of them look like they're holding better than others. And some of them, like DAG, they're just barely holding on to their support, right? So got to watch those ones closely, because if coins start losing support, they're going to keep going lower until they find a new support. So that's what I think. And I see a question. Can you tell me, tell us your opinion on the overall market based on the conditions with macro? Like, I really think the DXY coming down, markets coming down, everything is really coming down together. It just is signaling to me that it's just panic and it's not rational right now. So what I really think is going on is what I just said. Markets, they could not break resistance levels. So if they can't do that, they're just going back to test the levels before they broke out. Because I think what this breakout was right here, it was just not ready. I think what we saw in March of 2024 and May and all these times, I just think it wasn't ready for that, because there's really not enough liquidity in the markets yet to share it amongst the altcoins and Bitcoin and the stock market and everything. That's why sometimes you saw the stock market go up and crypto go down, because there's not enough liquidity to share everything, right? So I think this was a mistake right here. And I think everything should have stayed in this range right here the whole time. That's what I think. So essentially, this is where, since December of 2023, this is where prices should have always been, right? Because there's not enough liquidity to go around until the Feds starts cutting rates, until they start printing more money, the M2 supply starts going up. And I think that's all things are waiting for. And once that happens, then I think things can go much higher. And that could take some time, right? It could take until like maybe election time or a little bit after. And if you look on this chart for the others, like where does election time sit? Like right here in time, right? So it's getting closer and closer to where all these resistance levels are lining up, and all of these resistance levels line up right here in April of 2025. So possibly charts will have to wait until April of 2025 until they break above these resistance levels to continue much higher. So it's just going to take time, and I think it's in the correct zone now to where prices should be for the others chart, for the altcoins in general, because like I said before, I don't think this should have ever happened because there's just not enough liquidity in the market. Can I check Jasmi quick, please? I already checked on Jasmi. You can go back on the video and look at Jasmi. And somebody wants to look at Bonk. And let's see. Let's put on the Ichimoku for Bonk. Yeah, it's doing the same thing, right? It lost the support of the baseline and conversion line, so now it's going back to the levels right here. But the level before it even broke out would be down here, right? So that has to be on the table, right? Because it lost this resistance. It even confirmed it as resistance with this wick right here. So if this doesn't hold, it's going to go back to these levels here and possibly even back to these levels here into the 0.000012, right? That zone. So it's just doing what everything else is doing right now. And I'm not doing the miners because we already talked about those on the live stream last night, Balloon. So you can check on my my X account. You can see where that live stream that we did last night. There's a link to it there. But yeah, I already did Jasmi, did Bonk, did everything. So I think that's it for today. And overall, guys, like I said, things don't look that great, but they're just doing what they should be doing, in my opinion. And I wouldn't be too scared about things because it's just going back to levels before they broke out, most of them, right? But on the ones that I mentioned, just watch those support levels and got to pay attention to it. So yeah, you guys have a good weekend, and let's watch these weekly closes in 5 hours. All right, take care.